Tapping in.
Are we live?
Yeah. Man, we've had a couple weeks of reviewing some live house favorites, you know, from K Dot to Boogie, and now Mr. Lyrical Miracle himself, my original favorite rapper, Lupe Fiasco, Drill Music in Zion. What you think?
Lupe the Fiasco.blogspot.com. Yo, man, that's so.
Oh
That's
man,
so.
we old school with it. Yeah, we from the 1st and 15th days. You know what I'm saying? The free Chili Mac days. You know.
Yes. We really are, man. And so it's Lupe Fiasco, Chicago artist. Someone that Miles, you draw a significant amount of influence, man. People see you now. You Gotham City's prodigy. You're an activist. You're an esteemed leader of community organizing in Chicago. But what people don't know is that before this, we had Hood Dreams too, and Miles was supposed to get us out by his rap skills, and you always remind him you did draw very heavily from Lupe, and I think when we first met almost over a decade ago as friends, we bonded over our shared passion for Lupe's music, diving deep into the mixtape series, like you're saying, the first and 15th. And so we've had a quite a long journey with Lupe. Obviously, food and liquor. Having that come out, having his breakout single be not Daydream, being it is Daydream. Daydream was his breakout single, I believe. And since then, we've had this very interesting trajectory of Lupe's career, almost encompassing every element that comes with being a rap star and a successful rapper. Going through an underground success and then going into popular status and then dropping albums that people don't necessarily care too much for, that is extremely commercial. And now we're entering into this new phase. And when I think about mature hip hop, it's hard not to appreciate Lupe at the forefront of that.
No doubt, no doubt. Mature hip hop and then really pushing hip hop and showing hip hop as an art form. Me and Lupe, like I know the dude. He actually did grow up in a house down the street from my older brother's crib. I used to always look out to hope I would see him whenever I was over at Daniel's house, man. Shout out to Dan. But I've been, listening to Lupe for a long time. And like you said, one of the reasons that I've always really appreciated his music, and he's been, at the forefront of my mind, an icon in terms of hip hop, is because his music shows how much thought you can convey through hip hop, right? How many different meanings there can be for a bar, how many different ways there can be to interpret it, how many different ways you can structure a song or a rhyme scheme or incorporate a concept into your music. Lupe's done it a million different ways, from songs like Science Project and Switch to songs like Mural, which is an even more recent display of his lyrical ability. To even some of the joints on this, right? Kiosk is a dope concept. So I'm just really appreciative to have more boundary pushing music from Lupe, more hip hop maturity, as my brother said, and just evidence that the genre and its artists can grow into something really, really, really beautiful. Man, there's a lot of standouts on this, but Autobotto is the one that has stuck in my head. Autobotto, Kiosk. There's a few. Seattle. This is a really great project, and for him to be able to put out something that is deep and relatable this late in his career shows that there's no time limit on rappers and their ability.
And when you look at the intention behind this, right? The name might throw you off a bit, thinking that it might be an older rapper taking the drill sound, which we see happen often. It's quite the opposite of that, and I think that speaks towards his intentionality behind so much of his music. The same thing with Miss Mural. Miss Mural is a trilogy in the Mural trilogy. So you have Mural, then you have Mural Junior, and then you have Miss Mural, right? So this is the trilogy. This man has a trilogy of these very intricately put songs that take on a wide range of themes with a very meticulous skill set in order to prove it. If you have not heard Mural, if you have not heard Mural, stop this right now. I don't care what you like. I don't care what music you're into. I don't care if you're into Taylor Swift or whatever. Go listen to Mural because that is one of the best hip hop songs that you'll hear in terms of what it seems like to be able to rap in a way that nobody can rap, and that's what Mural is. And so to see him have that intention carry across, I think is super dope.
No
Same thing with
doubt.
Kiosk. Yeah, same thing with Kiosk. It's like take a religious take, taking a religious take on music. It's I'm liking the fact that rap can grow past just the young music. I like that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to your point about the title, yeah, I was because Lupe can do so many different things, right? Part of me did expect to hear at least a little bit more of a drill sound and him showing, him showcasing his lyrical ability over that. And that's not really what we got. I think drill in this context, I mean, it's still talking about I think drill music and that culture of hip hop and that pocket that's really has a high proximity to violence in the culture and what it means, right? And it was tough for me to figure out whether Zion was kind of the world or like the hip hop or specifically Chicago. And I think you can interpret it like any great art in a variety of different ways. But what I really pulled from this, and he lays it out beautifully on one of the songs where the entire verse is just rappers die too much, right? Or rappers get shot too much. One of those, something to that effect, and that's just the whole verse, right? And I think that really just brings home what he was trying to do with this project was to say that you can create something beautiful, and we have with hip hop, and we also have to be conscious of all the ways in which it grows and grows with it. Otherwise, it'll overgrow and suffocate us, right? Beyond our control. This whole album was recorded in 3 days, 72 hours, and that blows my mind.
What? That's
Yeah,
insane. That's
yeah,
insane.
yeah. So I gotta
Incredible.
the part of me that still has a competitive rapper, that part of me is like he had to have it written. He had to have a lot of it written beforehand, the concept together, and then just went in the studio with Soundtrack, who I believe produced the whole thing. It was on the boards for the majority of it. But yeah, man, that's an incredible. It's incredible, just like tidbit about this album. I don't really care how long it takes you to make great art if it's great art, but Lupe just again showing that he's different. He's an alien in this game, and so 15 years later, you know what I mean. I'm still proud to say that Lupe is one of my favorite artists in hip hop, and this is one of my favorite albums by him in a good minute. So I'm real happy with this one.
Which says a lot because he really has been on a rather consistent run since putting out before Tetsuo Youth, when he put out since putting out Lasers, because since Lasers people weren't necessarily feeling that too much, but Tetsuo and Youth came out and that was very very solid. The Droga Slides was also really dope, and then coming to this, how I took drill music in Zion, if I'm being interpretive of the cover art and the content that he speaks of. It's the juxtaposition of the setting, the juxtaposition of the if Zion is the if Zion is the standard, the norm, the perfect resemblance, then the drill music would be what is piercing through that and offending it. And that's what I look at when I see this album art as well. You have this almost pristine yellow background with a very sharp interjection of it, right? Which could be the drill music element. And it's the same thing with Miss Mural. Miss Mural is telling the story of hip hop as being a hip hop artist, but taken from the points of a painter, right? So taking this one concept of being a painter, which is the Zion elements of it, and then injecting the harsh realities of what it takes to be a hip hop artist into it, all culminating to the zenith of the story where he says, I'll just burn my art down, I'll just burn it down. So that seems to be That seems to be a theme that's proliferated throughout this album. And the reason I be pulling out words like juxtaposition, proliferated, and zenith is because this is the type of intention that this brother has when he puts this type of music together. So we want to be intentional too in being able to respect how valuable it is, man. So to me, this might not be my this might not be an album that I'm rinsing back and forth like that ignorant boogie album, but it is an album that I thoroughly appreciate and a hip hop album that I'd be happy to press play with in front of anybody, my family, my kid. This is that type of hip hop.
No doubt, man. No doubt. And what you just said, like being proud to play this in front of everybody. When I was in the fifth grade, it was my first year in school in the suburbs of Chicago, right? Public school, suburbs, mad white. And I am a hip hop loving, pants sagging, afro having black kid, right? And
To this day.
to this day. And I'm talking to my music teacher, the music instructor, specifically the percussion instructor. And he is adamant that hip hop is not real music, that it can't, convey certain messages or doesn't. And I put together, a little collection of songs, some Nas, some KRS-One, some I think maybe even some Pac and Lupe. Conflict Diamonds by Lupe Fiasco was one of the songs. And that was the song that my man told me a couple weeks later. Nah. We listened to it in the class and he was like, yeah, all right. Maybe you might have a point. But a couple years later, actually, when my little brother was going to the school and I was back for some play or performance, percussion instructor was there, pulled me to the side and was like, hey man, you really changed my perspective on music with those songs, specifically that Lupe Fiasco, that Conflict Diamonds. I'm a big fan of Lupe, and so that's from what you showed me. And for Lupe to be, the catalyst for that change and the one that won him over, I think really speaks to his ability and what he contributes to hip hop. So all that to say, don't sleep on Chicago, man. Chicago is kind of in the influence in terms of both like mainstream music and how drill music has taken over mainstream, but also some of the most incredible artists we've ever had have come from Chicago. So don't sleep on the best coast, that Midwest coast. And drill music in Zion gets a 4 out of 5 from me.
Oh, I was gonna tell you to hold on. I wanted to see what our producer had given drill music in Zion. Let's see what our producer is gonna give. Producer, what's your score? If you don't mind, let's see. And if we had a drum roll here, that would be absolutely perfect. I wonder if we can put it in the drum roll.
I was
I'll
gonna
be
say
interested.
brrr, but that's something else with drum music.
Yeah, yo, 4.5 out of 5. Interesting. Producer gives a 4.5 out of 5. That's interesting. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
You cannot sleep
Wow.
on Chicago, man. Beyonce's new song just dropped. It's mad housey. House music came from Chicago, right? Like there's an argument to be made that we are gaining an influence and if you really look at the broad spectrum of what Chicago has contributed, especially since like the 90s, we up there West Coast, we up there East Coast. So yeah, a little hometown love, baby.